All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to talk about a Deebo Samuel. Give you a Deebo Samuel update. Um, yeah, so I already talked about it a little bit, right before the end of the segment. But yeah, so he was listed as a non-participant at Wednesday's walkthrough practice, but he was seen working on a side field and took part in full speed sprints during the portion of the session open to the media. Shanahan told David Lombardi of The Athletic that Samuel wouldn't take part in Wednesday's session, but the wide receiver was feeling better after making an early exit from the 49ers divisional round playoff game. But yeah, we'll see, how he progresses throughout the week. Obviously, if he doesn't play, I mean, this is big. This is a big deal because, when he got hurt earlier in the season, the 49ers, they really struggled. They really struggled. Brock Purdy was turning the ball over. He looked like a different quarterback. And that's where, all the Brock Purdy, haters were coming out and just, heavily criticizing him, and his level of play, him not having his, whole Avengers roster, as everyone is saying, which, listen, I get it. I mean, the 49ers have a very good team that surrounds Brock Purdy. And, yeah, with no Deebo Samuel, it was different. And it was different in the game against the Packers because the 49ers, listen, they struggled. And, now you got this Lions team coming in that is playing really well offensively. And, they can get after the passer on defense. Although the defense is a little shaky, like I talked about, their pass defense particularly. Yeah, I mean, the Niners could be in trouble here if he doesn't play. And I don't think the weather is. I think it might be raining again for this game. And listen, we talked, and people were talking about Brock Purdy and the bad weather against the Packers and how during him getting ready to throw a pass, he was wiping his hand. Look at Jared Goff. I mean, Jared Goff struggled in that kind of weather as well. So this could, if the weather's not nice for Sunday, that could be an issue for both quarterbacks. Because again, we've seen what Jared Goff does in inclement weather. That's why, hey, they got a good running game, so you might have to rely on that. If the weather's not nice, we could be seeing a lot of Christian McCaffrey, Jahmyr Gibbs, and David Montgomery. So, but Deebo Samuel is very important, to this team. I mean, I don't have the specific stats in front of me, but you could see the difference. There's a difference, numbers wise, and just from simply watching the games when he's not playing. I mean, again, like I said, the 49ers, they went on a 3-game losing streak, when he got hurt, him and Trent Williams getting hurt. So, and again, Brock Purdy did not look good against the Packers. Again, had his moments, of course, the touchdown to George Kittle. I mean, listen, when the game was on the line and the 49ers had to score, they went down the field and, they got the touchdown that they needed to take the lead. And then the defense did its job getting the turnover off of Jordan Love. But, for the majority of that game, Brock Purdy did not look good. And, the Lions are coming in to this game, and we can say, oh, yeah, it's great the Lions made it this far. If they lose, it's not, but the Lions, they don't care. They want to win this game. They want to get to the Super Bowl. And if they sense there's blood in the water, they're going to go to it. And that could be a problem for the Niners. So they got to hope that, I mean, I also said maybe it's from the rust of not playing for a couple of weeks because, they didn't play their starters pretty much in the Week 18 finale against the Rams. And then, of course, they were the only team that had the bye. So you could also look at that as to why they struggled. But, I mean, for me, I think it's a little bit of both, I would say. A little bit of rust and just, I mean, they got to figure it out. But But the importance of Deebo Samuel is huge. Because, I mean, look at what the 49ers have done with him since, he came into the league in 2019. I mean, all of a sudden, his third season, they're putting him lining him up at running back, and he's running the football. He got that big first down in the divisional game against the Packers a couple years ago that set up the Robbie Gould game-winning field goal, which still hurts for me to this day. Of course, being an Aaron Rodgers fan and having to watch him lose to the 49ers every single year. Well, not every year, but you know what I mean. But yeah, I mean, and having those big runs against the Cowboys the week before that, that was nice to see. But and then of course making plays in the NFC Championship game against the Rams. I mean, he was unbelievable in 2021. Last year still had a good season, but I think he also missed time again because of injury, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, and then this year with Purdy, full season of Purdy, he's been great. He's one of the best playmakers in the NFL. And obviously having Christian McCaffrey now helps because now he's not, because before McCaffrey, I mean, 2021 when Elijah Mitchell got hurt, I mean, they had Jeff Wilson, but they were putting Deebo back there to run the football too. But now you got McCaffrey, so Deebo doesn't have to do that as much. But yeah, I mean, Deebo Samuel could do a lot of different things, for this team. And now when you don't have that, it's different. It's different. But again, you still have Christian McCaffrey, who is, the best running back in the NFL. You still got George Kittle. You still got Brandon Ayuk. It's not like the 49ers don't have anything. But it's weird how different the team is when he's not there. Because he's very important, but you would think with the other weapons that, they wouldn't have went on that losing streak earlier in the season. I actually did watch the Vikings highlights from earlier in the season, and just costly mistakes by the Niners in that game. I mean, they were going right down the field to start the game, and McCaffrey fumbled. Like, they were going to score points there, and McCaffrey fumbled. Then also you had the Vikings scoring a touchdown right before the half, where it looked like they got an interception, but then Addison pulled the ball away, and he scored a touchdown, so they were down 10 going into the half. The 49ers could have won that game. I mean, the games that they lost, the 3-game losing streak, they could have easily won all those games. I mean, the Browns game, I watched the highlights of that. If Moody kicks that field goal at the end of the game, they win. So it's there were a lot of close calls there. The Bengals one's the only one where I'd probably say, yeah, that's, I mean, it was back and forth for a little bit, but then the Bengals pulled away. But, yeah. The Vikings game and the Browns game, they could have very easily won. And that's one thing that I'll say going into these games. When it comes to, really for the 49ers and the Lions, it's different. Like the AFC Championship game, I don't worry about the kickers in those games because Justin Tucker is the best kicker in the NFL, and Harrison Butker is, when he's right, he's a top 3 kicker in the NFL as well. Even though when I needed him to make a field goal in my fantasy playoffs, he missed, and I ended up losing by a point. But anyways, Jake Moody, he has had some issues this year with the Niners. Now, I haven't really paid attention to how he's done lately, but, did cost the 49ers a game against the Browns, and we saw what just happened in the Bills-Chiefs game. You don't want it to come down, and Tyler Bass is a good kicker. But you do not want the game coming down to a kicker. Because I'll be honest, if the 49ers, if it comes down to Moody having to kick a field goal to win the game, I would be terrified as a Niners fan. But we'll see. Kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent there. But, I mean, for me, if Deebo Samuel is playing in this game, I'd be confident with the Niners. But, if he doesn't play and how the Niners played against the Packers, I'm a little worried. I mean, I'm worried regardless, but, because the Lions are not going to be a pushover in this game. They are, they're coming in. I think there's some house money because, I mean, nobody really, I should say nobody, but, I don't think a lot of people had them in the NFC Championship game because of how everything was kind of set up. I mean, for me, because I thought they would be, well, I actually had them losing in the first round, but no, they've been playing well in these playoffs. Jared Goff has been playing great. The running game, it's all coming together, and they're coming in hot against the Niners. So this could be a problem. And like I said, Deebo Samuel not playing in this game, that would be a huge blow because, I think if the Niners fall behind to the Lions now, it's going to be tough to come back from that. It is because, you look at the Lions offense. I mean, I think it's still better than the Packers. I mean, even the Packers were coming in hot and, they really brought it. But, the Niners, they were never really that far behind. Like, if the Niners fall behind by multiple scores to the Lions, I don't think they're coming back. It's going to be tough, because, listen, as great as Brock Purdy has been, has he, led a comeback down multiple scores? I don't think he has, because the Niners, for the most part, are always leading. The Packers game wasn't a multiple score game. They were always down by, they were always down by like a touchdown, when they were trailing in that game. So, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Something to keep an eye on, of course. We'll see if we get any updates for tomorrow, because obviously that's where I'm really gonna dive into the games. And you kind of already know where I'm leaning with these games based off of the bracket that I did to start the playoffs. But hey, maybe I change my mind. Maybe I go the other way. So you want to make sure to tune in and see if I end up switching. But it's probably not going to happen. But still, make sure to tune in tomorrow. Yeah, again, this is something that we got to continue to monitor between now and tomorrow, because this is a big injury. This is a huge injury, and if this is the reason that, if the 49ers lose this game, yeah, that's going to be a big problem, because that then again you're going to get a lot of criticism for Brock Purdy if they lose. So yeah, and the Niners for making him the starting quarterback, which but he did good this year. But it's they'll be like, well, he had all these guys around him. But here's the thing, like, we say that, but how could you what do you want them to surround Brock Purdy with? Nothing. They were able to get Christian McCaffrey for cheap. They drafted Deebo Samuel. They drafted Brandon Ayuk. They drafted George Kittle. Okay, he's got good weapons. We get that. But don't you want to surround your quarterback with good weapons? I get it, because then, if he didn't have that, then you could really see, all right, what are you made of? But, look, for me, I know what Brock Purdy is. Again, I said it yesterday. He's not one of these, top-tier quarterbacks. But you know what? I think he's still solid. He makes good plays. And listen, when the game was on the line, he led the 49ers down the field to win the game and set up that Christian McCaffrey touchdown. So, I don't know. Listen, for me, I'm kind of tired of the negativity with a lot of these players. But again, that's Brock Purdy. And like I said, we'll keep an eye on the Deebo Samuel stuff. Obviously tomorrow we'll preview the game. But speaking of negativity, we're going to talk about something that just a lot of people just cannot stand right now at this current moment. And we're going to just talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. And we're just going to talk about, them kind of, being that next dynasty team in the NFL, because they're right there. But I wouldn't say they're right there just yet. They need to do one more thing, which, again, it might not happen this year, but they're right there. So we'll get into that when we come back from our final break of the show. So With that being said, stick around and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.